Hello and welcome to another edition of my Football Lockdown. In this week's episode I speak with former Liverpool CEO Ayre, who's now currently performing the same role with MLS Franchise team Nashville. Ian, thanks so much for joining me today. It's been a long time since I've seen you, many years in fact, when you were working in the broadcast industry, and I think my last memory of you is when we staggered out of an Irish bar in Monaco following one of those infamous Satanta sports parties.
Yeah, I mean, they were great times. I've recalled many of those Satanta parties in Monaco with Trevor East, who's a good friend of mine and formerly of Sky Sports in Satanta, as you know. And yeah, really good times. It was great industry, great to be a part of it, and different places now, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you're calling in from Nashville in Tennessee. Can you tell us what you're doing out there?
Yeah, so I've been here about 2 years. I've been building a Major League Soccer team for Nashville, which essentially was from a blank sheet of paper. So, 2-year project to build everything really. We hired all the players, all the staff, building a stadium, building a practice facility or training ground, building an academy which is nearly finished, and everything, team offices, everything you can imagine that you need in a football club. You're doing the whole thing, right down to the cups and saucers and the carpets in the stadium when we move into that. So we've been doing that for 2 years. We started our first game on the 29th of February this year, which was incredible. We're playing at the NFL Stadium in Nashville, Nissan Stadium, for 2 years, and had 60,000 people show up, which was a record for Tennessee for soccer, and just been incredible, really. But a bit of a weird journey. We played that game. 2 days later, I had a tornado rip through the city and devastate life for many people, and then went on the road for our second game and came back from that and had coronavirus shut us down. So it's been a interesting and challenging journey, let's say.
Exciting times for you, but obviously very difficult as well. Obviously, David Beckham has launched his franchise in Miami. And that's attracted much of the headlines. Does that help you in a way, because it means that you can build your franchise almost under the radar?
Yeah, kind of. I met with David in New York recently, and look, I think I'm a big admirer of what he's done in the game and for the game, and particularly here. And I think it's only natural, and it's what you would expect that he would get, and his franchise would get a lot more attention because of who he is and what he represents. But that's fine by us. We're going about our work for Nashville, and we'll do our talking on the pitch and on the terraces, as they say. And I think we're both ploughing our own course into MLS, and we wish them the best of luck. I think he's done an incredible thing and continues to do that with Miami. So we'll look forward to. We play them, depending when the schedule reforms, but we will play them as one of our outer conference teams this year. So look forward to that.
I was going to say that's definitely a game to look forward to. Now, obviously, we've only touched on it so far, but they're difficult times for the world, not just for football. But football, certainly, what we're seeing here with the Premier League, they seem to be struggling in terms of knowing what to do, and there seems to be a disunity between clubs and various stakeholders. What do you think is the right way forward, Ian?
The biggest challenge, I think, for every league across the world is timing, because nobody knows, when their particular country or region, when it will be safe to come out, type thing, and so it's different for everyone. So nobody knows the answer. There's lots of people speculating when football will start again in different places, but unless you know when everybody's going to be well or be safe, then how can you know? And so you can only plan. You can only do scenario planning. And I was in the military for many years, and that's how you plan for everything. Like, you build a different scenario for different outcomes, and I think that's all you can do. I think what's also different. So in the US, every state is like a country. So, I think it'll be very challenging here to know, the whole league, which is 26 or so teams, can be all in different states in different parts of the US, and it could be a very different timeline in different places. So I think that's hard. And then I think the most important thing that MLS has, and from my experience in the Premier League, doesn't have as well, is the collaboration between the individual teams and the owners. The teams here, the owners here, the CEOs here, the staff here, they all talk to each other all the time, not just during the coronavirus. I mean, all the time. So there's almost like an open book sharing of information and, process and wherewithal and how you go about things. And it's really, really collaborative. And, I was always a believer, even when I was at Liverpool, that you're really only in competition on the pitch, and off the pitch there's no need. So I had people at other clubs in the Premier League, friends of mine who were CEOs, who I could pick the phone up and ask advice of, but it wasn't the sharing of information as here. When I built my budget for Nashville here, I reached out to a number of CEOs in MLS clubs, and bear in mind, I either knew nothing of these people, a couple of them I knew, but some of them I'd never really met or never really spent much time with, and they shared their entire budget with me. I mean, I think that shows you that they're not trying to hide anything. They're not thinking that they share some piece of information and that gives you the edge over them. They just want the league to be great overall, and they want every team in the league to be able to have a real go at this. And I think that's, in a time like this, when you get into this time of crisis, to have that level of collaboration is crucial. So literally, put it into another military sort of scenario. It's like everyone's fighting for the same side, and you're all doing it together, and you're all in it together. And that's hugely valuable for me.
Be interesting if Manchester United and Manchester City, for example, were to share their budgets and information. Can't see that one happening somehow.
No, you can't. But but there's lots of things where you can share, and there's some obvious stuff that might never happen. But I think for Ferran Soriano to pick the phone up to Ed Woodward and have a conversation, and some of that goes on. I know because I've been part of it.
Sure.
I mean, people think like people. I used to marvel at the idea that people thought that the clubs never spoke to each other at all. I would meet fairly regularly with Ferran and Ed and others. Daniel and others, and that was just part of trying to do this type of thing I'm describing, but it wasn't the same across the whole league like it is in MLS.
I think it's the Belgian league that has announced or is suggesting that they're going to end the season now. The current placings will stand, but for that to work here, for example, that would be unfair, for example, on a club like Aston Villa, who are currently in the bottom three, but with a game in hand, and they would argue they would win it. I just don't see how that can work here.
No, I agree, and that's why I don't think that it's all about integrity. You're changing the rules halfway through the game, right? Literally.
Yeah.
So that's why I say and I think I read that FIFA said they wanted teams to continue their seasons through to the end, or maybe I just made that up, but I'm pretty sure I read that, and I think for me it's got nothing to do with Liverpool, Leeds United, Aston Villa. It's got to do with the integrity of the competition, and if you take that away, people will be griping about it for 100 years. When we were going to do this, and that happened, and blah blah blah. Just wrong fundamentally, and it's easy to vote for it if you're in the bottom three, and hard to vote for it if you're at the top, right?
Sure. Could you see a situation potentially where, if it has to, because of the fact it's a December World Cup, that could get put back even further, in the way that the Euros had, to allow the calendar to catch up?
Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, I think certainly for me, as a football fan, I care hugely more about my club team than I do about international competitions,
Sure.
if I'm honest. So if you're asking me on a personal basis, I could care less when the World Cup is. Honestly, I mean, like I think, whether you're a Liverpool fan, you're a Man United fan, like we all want our teams to do the best they can do first and foremost, and our country's second most.
Okay. Now, your former club, Liverpool, they came in for a lot of criticism recently about that after they announced they were going to furlough their non-playing staff, but they have changed their minds, and I think all credit when somebody realises they've made a mistake and put their hands up. But again, because it's an endless timeline, how long can even the clubs like City, who are bankrolled by oil money from the Middle East, and clubs like Liverpool, I know they won the Champions League last year. They and Spurs, the other finalists last year, they recently announced joint profits of 190 million. If you were still chief executive at Liverpool, what would you be thinking? What would you be planning now?
Well, it's not really about Liverpool. I think that I don't really understand whether it's from Liverpool's perspective or any team's perspective that there's no revenue, because I'm not sure that's true. I think MLS made a statement recently, which is important, which was that our intention is to play all the games, obviously to a different schedule. And I think if you go back to what we were just saying about what is the right solution for the Premier League, if the right solution ends up being that you play all the games, then haven't you fulfilled all the obligations? So when you say there's no revenue, well, sponsors, I'm not privy to all of the sponsorship deals at all of the clubs, but sponsors are paying to be a sponsor of a club in a season where you play the registered number of home and away games. So if you still play them, then you've delivered everything that you need to deliver for the sponsor, and therefore you should get all the sponsorship revenue. The TV companies have a contract for the games that will be played. If you replay all those games to the end of the season, then you should be getting all or most of the money, shouldn't you? And if you play those games and people are allowed to attend, then season ticket holders will come to those games, as will single game ticket holders. So you'll get all that revenue. So I don't understand where the revenue loss, en masse is. I think that the challenge is you've got salaries to pay and you've got all these things going on at a time when that revenue may not be flowing in right now. But that's not to say it's not going to flow in. And I think it's about having a plan, right? It's about saying, okay, what's our burn rate of cash on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis? How can we afford to pay that in this period of time, and not fall foul financially? But I don't understand there's no revenue comment that I've read in the newspapers about the league. But I do feel that some clubs have dived in a little bit too early on trying to trim cost before they actually really know the outcome of the problem. And I think we've looked at that. We've had to do the same planning for our club, and what we're looking at is if this thing gets switched back on in 8 weeks' time, we need all the people here and motivated and committed to get on with it. So to deliver the rest of the season, to get the rest of the revenue. So I think it's about smart planning for me. Everyone's under the same pressure, right? So we're all talking about, and we're all worried about having to remove salaries from staff who work hard, whether it's in the club or around the clubs or what. What if FIFA said today? I don't mean this to be sensitive, but if FIFA suddenly said, okay, there's no transfers for the next 12 months, right, other than players who are out of contract, then you would imagine most people wouldn't have any financial issues, right? Because they all got a war chest of money that they're going to spend on players. Or I'm being sensationalist, but I mean, I'm kind of half joking, but by clubs don't need and shouldn't need FIFA to say that to them. They need to look at what their objectives are and look at what their responsibilities are, and if not buying one player, or if selling a player and not using that money to buy more players, arouse them to reconstitute their business to get through this issue, then they should absolutely be looking at that, because it's more important to keep people in livelihoods and keep them safe and well than
Absolutely.
it is to win football matches, right? So yeah, I think you have to think like that to some level, because this season's a mess for everyone everywhere, regardless of how it finishes up. So kind of, I think people could just be a bit smarter.
So anyway, so let's just take a quick trip down memory lane for you, Ian. You had I think it was 5, 6 years as chief executive of Liverpool, was it? What were your favourite? What were your highlights of your career there?
Well, I was there 10 years overall. I suppose the highlights were I really the arrival was great for me. I grew up in the city and lived all over the world and came back to do that job. And it was kind of weird, the first few days there were sort of surreal. I remember somebody giving me keys to the stadium. Like I used to try and bunk in there when I was a kid, and there I was, like, with the keys to get in myself, and just small things. My parking space in the old main stand there. When I was a kid, the players used to park. There were numbered bays, 1 to 40 or something, and the players used to park there. And my hero at the time when I was there, early on was Kevin Keegan and latterly Kenny Dalglish, and they used to park in Bay 7. Like obviously Kenny replaced Kevin, and both strikers, and I remember the guy in the administration, the club secretary, giving me parking bay number 7 in the main stand. I thought I'd won the lottery, and it never really meant anything to anyone else, but I had that space until we tore the stand down to build a new one, and just little things like that. As a fan and somebody from the city, it was never really about the big games. I was at some epic games at Anfield and on the road. I think I missed 4 games in 10 years, home and away in every competition. Um, and so I went to some incredible games and nights and experience. But it was never the big stuff. It was always the little stuff. It was just those small things like that. And, proud to have brought some incredible players there, Coutinho, Sadio Mane, Firmino, lots of players, Wijnaldum. Look at the team now. I think there's still 7 or 8 players getting a regular start in the first team.
Being a United fan, it's very difficult having this conversation with you, Ian. but
It's interesting, though. I have to say that there's this, and rightly so, there's this, tribal sort of rivalry that's, unmatched, I think, in world football between United and Liverpool. And the games are incredible, and it's a cauldron and all that. But I had a great relationship with Manchester United when I was at Liverpool. I had a great relationship with Ed. Got to know Sir Alex, through various times, and David Gill when he was there, incredible guy, and lots of other people, at different levels in the club had those. And it's right and proper that the clubs are in, against each other many days, but really, we had a good relationship, and the 2 great clubs in the north of England that represent so much about British football, and I think it's right that they should have, the rivalry, but they should also, be there for each other.
This isn't so much about Liverpool, but was it difficult for you as a fan not to let your heart rule your head when it came to
Yeah,
making important decisions?
It was particularly initially. I think when I first got there, like I say, it was like somebody gave me the keys to the sweet shop, But I got over that pretty quickly. I think the saddest thing about the job is you don't enjoy the football as much as you have. When you're a season ticket holder or a fan, all you have riding on it is the cost of your season ticket. And when you've got everything that you do in your life riding on the outcome of games, it becomes a little bit less enjoyable, honestly. So you're not thinking about, oh, we're winning 2-1 here and this is great. You're thinking about, oh my God, if they score, we're going to have to deal with the media. We're going to have to deal with this. We're going to have to deal with, people. It's just a different type of and I still loved it. I still I wouldn't change anything, as I said earlier. But I think, you have to have a plan, and that was the hardest thing and the best thing. So we built a plan. 2010, when Fenway took over, we made a plan, and we went on that journey, and it got knocked around so much personally and professionally. We got beaten up a lot on the journey of that plan, and it was all about building from the bottom, building real new, stronger foundations for the club commercially. It was about building infrastructure, so the new main stand, the new store, new offices, now the new training ground that they're building. It was about building all those good foundations there, and then it was about starting to build up the squad. And people look at Liverpool today and think, somebody may wave the magic wand in the last couple of years, and if that were even possible, then every team would be doing it, including your lot at United, and it's just not that easy. But we had a real plan, and even when we got knocked around by people, all those jokes and media articles about the transfer committee, the same process that they've got today, with almost all the same people doing almost all the same things to achieve the same things. And it's just, when you start winning and you start doing well, you start, attracting more players and making, and they're doing some incredible stuff there, really incredible stuff. But it's the same stuff we were doing. And like I said, way back from when Damien was still there with myself and Kenny, and we brought Jordan Henderson, who's a legend now, and smashing it for Liverpool, and he was probably one of the people going back. If you look back, him coming, and then people like James Milner, and all these things they weren't by accident, by process. And of course, you sign some players and you get some wrong, but they're mostly a case of circumstance, because you either the players are available or not available. The players make a choice to come or not come. Yeah, you have enough money or you don't have enough money, but one way or another, we chipped away at it. And every season, I thought we brought one or two at least players that are still there now that made a huge difference. Or if they're not still there now, they went and they've been a big part of funding what they are doing. So it was hard not to let your heart rule it, but it was harder to keep on the track, keep on the plan, and great testament, as I say, to the owners and so many great people who were on my team at Liverpool, including many who are still there. So that you have to have a plan and you have to stick to it, because if you let, with respect to fans, and I'm a fan, if you let fans tell you what to do all the time, you won't get anywhere, because you can never please everybody.
I didn't realise it was 10 years you were at Liverpool. Time just has this habit of running away. But what was the reason that you decided to leave in the end?
It's funny, if I look back across my own life or career, I like everything kind of, not everything, but big chunks of 10 years. I had 10 years in the military, I had 10 years in Asia, I had 10 years in the electronics industry. And I suppose just wasn't like a natural thing, but I just felt like I'd done everything I came to Liverpool to do. I came there to, I was a fan, as I said, supported them 50 years or so, and signed lots of players, built lots of infrastructure, made lots of commercial deals happen. It was almost like rinse and repeat at that point. And I just think if you're going to have that job, you've got to absolutely love it every single day, because of the challenges and the hardship. And I just thought somebody else should be doing this now, because I've done everything that I can do here, and I'll just be doing some more of the same. And that's not, anyone who knows me knows that's not who I am. I like to be, particularly from a work perspective, I like to be in a challenging situation. So I actually didn't have a plan of where I was going to go. I just felt that it wasn't, right for me anymore. And I spoke to Mike Gordon, I think it was like 18 months before I left. And I said, look, I think I had 18 months left on my contract. And I said, listen, I don't want to do a new deal at the end of this. I'd like to just shake hands and call it a day. And that was out of respect for him and the other owners, to say that, I love this club and I want to leave, but I want to leave and give you time to find, the right solution for you, and do everything I can to help with that. And and that was it. And left on great terms. Still have a great relationship with pretty much everybody there, and it's all good. And couldn't be happier where I am in Nashville, Tennessee, where the sun's shining. It's 82 degrees or 84 today, I think. And
It's a hard
yeah, no,
life, isn't it?
no complaints. No complaints.
Well, and I'm sure you're able to enjoy Liverpool's success, but enjoy it while it lasts, because United will be back. We know football goes in cycles.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting is you have to watch the early games, like the 12 o'clock kickoffs at 6 o'clock in the morning here. So I have to go to a Liverpool supporters club at 6 a.m. and drink beer, which is a terrible thing to have to do. But, life's tough, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Ian, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck with Nashville when the season does recommence. I'll be keeping an eye out on how you're doing. But thanks so much for giving up your time, and I do appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Stay safe,
Stay
everybody. Appreciate
Stay
it.
well.